Tonight on the Insight Bulletin, social divisions deepen as political, economic, and digital forces fuel polarization across Nairobi communities. Cybercrime on the rise. Kenyans lose millions through phishing, SIM swap fraud, and data breaches. Nairobi's crime patterns shift as organized gangs increasingly target low-income neighborhoods. And inside Nairobi's detention centers, overcrowding, delayed justice, and growing human rights concerns.
The Insight Bulletin Live.
Hello and welcome to the Insight Bulletin, your trusted source for in-depth news analysis and information. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Joanne Gumbi. We are with you for the next 25 minutes, unpacking the stories that are shaping Kenya's capital, including our social, digital, security, and human rights landscape. Stay with us as we unpack our top stories and hear from experts, analysts, and voices on the ground. You can join the conversation on our social media handles on Facebook at TNN Prime, X at TNN Prime, and the hashtag Insight Bulletin. On to our top story, where Kenya's social fabric is straining under rising polarization, with Nairobi showing sharp signs of political, cultural, and economic division. Experts warn that mistrust between communities, once mostly visible during elections, is now creeping into daily life, affecting conversations, relationships, and even how people interpret the news. Our correspondent Deborah Chelotti begins our special report.
In the narrow alleyways of Nairobi's estates, from Umoja to Pipeline to Mathare, neighbors once greeted each other with shared mornings, common courtyards, and familiar voices. Today, many of those courtyards stay quiet. The greetings are polite but guarded, and that unity feels fragile. According to a 2021 survey by Afrobarometer, while over 90% of Kenyans identify with their nation, about 69% still consider their ethnic group an important part of their identity. And less than 5% say they think most people can be trusted. This suggests a disconnect.
Tumekuja kuona ya kwamba watu wanakuwa grouped in different tribal lines, kitu ambao inatuaffect kama wananchi wa Kenya. Kwa hakika ile shida ambao tunapitia kando na mambo ya siasa ni common problems. Each tribe has a similar problem to the other.
Many believe in Kenya as a country, but trust between individuals across tribes, classes, and communities remains low. As Kenya approaches another election cycle, these cracks in social trust must risk becoming deeper. I spoke to Betty Chepchumba, a sociologist who emphasized the need for promoting unity and looking beyond one's tribe.
So social mistrust between communities began way back. It's something historical. We had battles from when before we got independence. We also have competition for resources within the communities. There are some people that have more access to resources than others, so this leads to class separation. So that is how people that don't have anything tend to fight to get what others have. It's called the have-nots.
The path ahead will not be easy. Experts warn that if left unchecked, polarization can deepen, fueling resentment, cutting access to opportunities, and possibly igniting conflict in moments of tension. Deborah Chelotti, reporting for the Insight Bulletin, Nairobi.
We are joined by Mr. Joe Kiviaka, who is a political analyst. Thank you so much, Joe, for joining us. On to the first question. How does politics exploit or reinforce social divisions in Kenya?
Politics reinforces and also impacts social affairs in this country in the following way, is that a bad political scenario would definitely affect the economies and also affect the social life, that is the people around them.
And what role do political rallies and digital campaigns play in shaping polarization?
One or two ways that politicians use to be able to rally people towards their direction. The traditional way is political rallies, but there's a new generational thinking that social media has become the next way of rallying people. But in either way, what happens in a lot of these things is that people try to create the notion of them against us. And the notion of them against us is where you find a lot of rallies become very nuisance.
Can political reforms help rebuild national unity?
Political reforms, yes, they do. They do bring about national unity. If you look at the history of Kenya in 1963, when we got independence, we lived with one constitution until the year 2010. Though there were many attempts where people were feeling marginalized, other people were feeling they needed to bring in affirmative action. There were others who felt that we need to devolve the units of governance.
How can the media promote issue-based rather than tribal politics?
Thank you very much. I think what we're having in terms of the media presence in politics is that many people have used the media and also misused it in terms of misinformation and information. Because you'd find a lot of big TV, radio stations or media channels have gone into tribal channels, and it's unfortunate because they speak to their tribe, and this we saw in the election of 2007.
What lessons can Kenya learn from other polarized societies?
There are very many lessons that we can learn from those polarized societies, from Africa and also far out of Africa. And one thing we need to understand is that the biggest problem that we experience worldwide is the issue of historical injustices.
And lastly, how can the vernacular stations bridge that gap of being more responsible to avoid them closing down as they were meant for the people who can't access English or Swahili stations?
Okay, thank you very much for that question about the vernacular stations. One thing we need to agree and also understand is we're a tribal country, whether we like it or not. Kenya has just turned into a tribal country. People want to know what tribe do you belong, and also when the politicians are speaking, they want to go onto the table with their tribe.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kivyaka, for your insights. Joining me live is Deborah Chelotti, who will share with us some more information on what she got on the ground. Deborah, thank you so much for making time for us. You spent time speaking with residents across different areas. Are these divisions mainly political, or are they spilling into daily social spaces, workplaces, or even markets?
Yes, I would actually say these issues have gone way beyond politics, because the people I have spoken to have emphasized that these problems have gone further from the day-to-day lives. They've affected workplaces, friendships, and even just neighborly interactions. So people would rather avoid engagements and avoid disagreements.
So we had experts mention community programs and dialogue groups. Based on what you saw, are there any local initiatives already helping to bridge these divides?
Yes, Joanne, actually there are youth groups which are now coming together. Youths from very different backgrounds are able to sit in one space, talk about issues rather than politically based factors, and this is helping to build trust and community at the social level. Right?
Okay, thank you so much, Deborah. Our next story is on cybercrime in Kenya, where it is rising at an alarming rate, with everyday citizens losing money, data, and even their identities to online fraudsters. From fake SMS messages to phishing links and data breaches on major platforms, digital crime is becoming more sophisticated and more personal. According to the Communications Authority of Kenya, over 515 million cyber threat incidents were detected in a recent quarterly report, reflecting just how vulnerable Kenyans are as digital services continue to expand. Our technology correspondent Jeremiah Asenahabi looks at why cybercriminals are getting bolder, how they exploit gaps in security, and what Kenyans can do to protect themselves.
In Nairobi, mobile phones have become more than communication tools. They are wallets, banks, offices, and identification devices. But as digital convenience grows, so does digital danger.
One of the most common one, of course, is what we call phishing or social engineering. And here what it basically means is a situation whereby you're sent for a message just to trick you. It seems genuine, but the moment you engage into that process of proceeding with that particular trick, you might be in a position to provide your own personal information, which might lead into you revealing some of your security things like, usernames and passwords, or even if it is a phone number, ID details, which the other party can use now to sort of social engineer and be able to access some of your details, including any banking details, telco details, even your most common.
For example, in the US, there is a law called HIPAA. Basically, if you don't allow anyone to see, even your parents, they cannot see your data until you agree for them to see your health data. That's how critical that is. So for me, I would say the hospitals' data and basically their technical infrastructure need to be up to par. I can't comment really on the individual institutions and how they have their systems designed. So they need to start addressing or coming up with bills that, engaging people, make sure they are out there, not only in Kenya, but have them go to countries like the US or even Dubai. They don't have to go that far, and see how other countries are doing it, and come home, don't copy paste, get what works with your people. I think that's what I would say about that. Yeah, you don't have to do everything the same as the other countries are doing. Just go out there, see what they're doing, and just come home and try to do something similar, but something that will actually work with the culture and the people in your country.
Every day, Kenyans receive suspicious messages, click on unknown links, or unknowingly expose personal information online.
Nilioda kitu after kulipa, story yangu ikaishia hivyo, kwa pigia simu ashiki, so ikakuwa tu ni hivyo. So hiyo cybercrime pesa yangu iko save online.
The result? Lost savings, compromised data, and the rise of highly coordinated cybercrime networks operating far beyond our borders. Despite rising threats, cybersecurity investment in Kenya remains low. Many small businesses cannot afford advanced systems, while some institutions lack trained personnel to respond to complex attacks. Analysts argue that Kenya needs stronger laws, better training, and public awareness campaigns if it hopes to stay ahead of the increasingly global cybercriminal networks. Cybercrime is now part of daily life in Nairobi, an invisible threat hiding in smartphones and public networks. But with stronger digital habits and better system protection, experts insist that Kenyans can stay ahead of attackers. Jeremiah Sanahabi, reporting for the Inside Bulletin, Nairobi.
Joining us now is Mr. Sebastian Mwalili, a digital creator and a tech analyst. Thank you so much for making time for us today. As we begin, why do you think cybercrime has grown so rapidly in Kenya, especially as more people move their lives and their money online?
Thank you so much, John, for that question. I think there is an acceleration of digital adoption in our country. And the country does not have a security investment in terms of cyber security. And as people move to mobile money, online banking, criminals expand their ways to get money from other people.
Right. We have seen thousands of Kenyans lose money through online scams. What social or economic factors are making people vulnerable?
Well, we are in a third world country, and in Kenya, the youth is the majority, and in most of the African countries. Thus, we have a high rate of unemployment, whereby the youth and people are not employed, they are idle, and yet they can find a space to loot or to manipulate other people through the cyber space.
And in your view, is Kenya prepared for emerging threats like AI-driven scams and coordinated online fraud?
According to me, I think we are not fully there, just partially, because we have weak systems in terms of data protection, in terms of cybersecurity tools that are supposed to detect any threats. So in Kenya, we are not yet there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sebastian, for your insights. Coming up after the break, we look at how the crime and violence landscape looks like in the country, and also we dive deep into the rights of the inmates in detention centers. Stay with us.
The Insight Bulletin Live.
Great body lotion to let your skin know you love it. Honey and butter for all skin types.
Welcome back to the Insight Bulletin. Now, moving on. Nairobi's crime landscape is changing, and changing fast. Once concentrated in a few hotspots, organized criminal networks are now spreading into low-income neighborhoods, recruiting younger members and adopting more violent tactics. Police data shows a worrying rise in muggings, gang activity, and drug-related offenses across the city. Ashley Asachi examines the new phase of urban crime, what is driving it, who is being targeted, and the deeper social pressures fueling this wave.
In Nairobi's informal settlements, from Mathare to Kibera, Kayole, and parts of Dandora, crime is no longer just an evening or weekend menace. It is slowly becoming woven into daily life. Organized gangs now operate with more structure, more coordination, and more daring, taking advantage of overcrowded neighborhoods, limited policing, and the growing desperation among unemployed youth. I sat down with Mr. Daxon Zavai, a criminologist, and this is what he had to say.
Nairobi is the capital city of Kenya. And when it comes to issues with the crime, most of the people who live in Nairobi, especially in our slums, they are from low-income earners.
Police statistics for 2023-2024 show a steady increase in violent robberies, house breakings, and gang-related incidents. Young offenders, some as young as 14, are being recruited into neighborhood gangs, offering quick money, protection, or belonging. Social analysts say these patterns reflect broader economic and social shifts in Nairobi's low-income areas where services are inadequate and safety has become a daily negotiation.
The number rises from time to time because you find that all maybe job seekers from all over the country, they come to Nairobi for an opportunity, especially the young generation. We call them young generation. So when they come to this town called Nairobi, you find that some of them, they don't get somewhere where they can get something. So they end up maybe in those slums, maybe they start engaging in illegal activities.
Where there is insecurity, the government should intensify the operation system of the security. So we'll make the resident within that specific area more safer than us now.
Urban crime in Nairobi is evolving, shaped by economic hardship, social pressures, and the rise of organized gangs. While community efforts offer hope, experts warn that without stronger support systems, rehabilitation programs, and coordinated policies, many vulnerable neighborhoods will continue to fall deeper into cycles of violence. Reporting for the Insight Bulletin from Nairobi, my name is Ashley Asachi.
Speaking to us now is Madam Sarah Duncan, who is the Deputy Director Reforms. Many thanks to you, Madam Sarah, for joining us. As we begin, from a policing standpoint, What new challenges are officers facing with emerging gangs in Nairobi?
First and foremost, it is important for us to note that rural-urban migration is a real challenge in the world today. Young people will leave the rural areas and come to town looking for jobs that could not even be there. And you find that after young people have been in town for some time looking for jobs and jobs are not available, and hopelessness and desperation sets in, and you discover that young people, for survival's sake, young people will always find themselves falling in long company, in long groupings, and there you are. They discover before they discover they are members of of criminal gangs.
How prepared is the security apparatus to deal with crime that is spreading into these low-income estates?
Crime in low-income estates has been there time immemorial. Police work day and night to ensure that lawlessness is curbed.
What practical measures are being implemented on the ground to curb these rising threats?
In the Criminal Procedure Code, there is what we call identification parades. Members of public who fear to be noted or to come out openly to give police information or to identify lawbreakers. There is that loom where they can do so in the identification parade. The identification parade is done such that the criminal is put between other people who may not be criminals, and the person alleging to identify criminals can do it undercover, and such criminals can be identified very, very easily. It has worked in the past, and it has been very, very helpful. Thank you.
We have seen videos of violent robberies circulating online. What is driving this boldness among these criminals?
There are persons or groups of persons who have grown within the city and they know the city very well. And after mastering the art, they pick a false sense of boldness to create let me say contact with the police. I cannot really call it a sense of boldness. It is a false sense of boldness because once police face them collectively, they disappear. They disappear into their hoods.
And finally, what role can communities realistically play in helping police identify and prevent crime?
In the Criminal Procedure Code, there is what we call identification parades. Members of public who fear to be noted or to come out openly to give police information or to identify lawbreakers. There is that loom where they can do so in the identification parade. The identification parade is done such that the criminal is put between other people who may not be criminals, and the person alleging to identify criminals can do it undercover, and such criminals can be identified very, very easily. It has worked in the past, and it has been very, very helpful.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for your time and your words of advice. We end tonight's bulletin with a spotlight on the state of human rights inside Nairobi's detention centers. For years, human rights groups have raised concerns over overcrowding, delayed justice, and failing sanitation, conditions that undermine basic rights guaranteed by both Kenyan law and international standards. Deborah Chelotti digs deeper into how these conditions affect detainees and what reforms experts say are urgently needed.
For many families, the biggest challenge is knowing where to turn when rights are violated. Legal aid organizations, including non-profits and pro bono lawyers, play a critical role. Experts encourage families to document concerns, reach out to right bodies, and follow up on unresolved cases. Nairobi's detention centers, located in Industrial Area, Kilimani, Kayole, Dandora, and Central Police Station, hold thousands of detainees every year. Many are remandees awaiting trial, some for months or even years. Human rights monitors say that these facilities often hold more than the double that they are intended to hold, stretching resources and placing detainees in conditions that fall short of legal and ethical standards. Human rights lawyer James spoke to the Insight Bulletin, and this is what he had to share.
Well, Article 42 of the Constitution grants everyone the right to clean and healthy environment. As I said before, prisoners, the only right a prisoner has been denied is the right to vote and the right to move around freely. We must take an aggressive strategy at expanding our prisons or reducing the number of people that go to prisons. Remember the four-pronged approach I said, that we have prison facilities that are too small, so we must expand our prison facilities.
Human rights experts say reforming detention conditions must begin with systemic adjustments, increasing the number of remand spaces, expediting court processes, improving record management, and investing in facility upgrades could significantly reduce the pressure on existing centers. Deborah Chiluti, reporting for the Insight Bulletin, Nairobi.
Joining us now is Madam Watiri Wangui, who is an advocate that deals with matters human rights. Thank you, Madam Watiri, for joining us. On to the first question. From a legal standpoint, what basic rights are detainees supposed to have while being held in Nairobi's detention centers?
I'd say that a detainee is a citizen like any other, and so the basic rights that every other citizen of Kenya is entitled to, a detainee is entitled to the same.
Many facilities are holding more than double their intended capacity. What does the law say about humane living conditions in detention, and where do you see the biggest breakdown?
The biggest breakdown will be on the limited resources, and them being overcrowded in such places, and that therefore means that they will not have enough or rather adequate but proper sanitation, food. I mean, even the food, it's not even balanced in the first place.
Lastly, what specific reforms would immediately improve the welfare of these inmates?
Then that will have to be very particular to the specific problem, so that if it's an issue of overcrowding, then there should be more cells or bigger cells, But then again, I mean, more cells would be the most appropriate for that particular challenge. And the issue of food, then they should be given a balanced diet, because always the top to garden a maragwe all through at a top in vitamins. Yeah. If it's the issue of proper sanitation, then just make sure that the place is clean. That person cannot be just staying or sleeping in a place that is dirty and all kind of things. If it's the issue of healthcare, there should be medics.
Thank you so much, Madam Wangui, for your insights. And that brings us to the end of this edition of the Insight Bulletin. We've highlighted the social divisions that are shaping everyday interactions, the rising threats of cybercrime, the evolution of urban crime across our neighborhoods, and the ongoing human rights concerns inside Nairobi's detention facilities. Thank you for choosing to spend your time with us and for joining these important conversations. Continue interacting with us on our social media handles, Facebook at TNN Prime, X at TNN Prime, and the hashtag Insight Bulletin. I have been your host, Joanne Gumbi. See you next time.